Honestly, everyone's injury prone when you're backpacking, so just have it with you so that if and when you do injure your knee, ankle, or other joint, you can keep backpacking without like insane amounts of pain and going through all your ibuprofen in the first 6 hours. Hello friends, I hope you're doing well today. I am Karina and welcome to Explore Blue Wild. Even though we're all still stuck inside for the most part, a lot of state parks have opened, and so many of us are taking the opportunity to get back out into the wild! Yay! Anyway, since we're doing that, we should probably think about what we need. And one of the most important things to have when you are backpacking, hiking, basically existing, but very important when you're in the middle of the woods, is a first aid kit. These are the absolute first aid essentials that I would take with me whenever I go backpacking. This is either backpacking through the wilderness, backpacking as in traveling, or even honestly just on a hike. These are travel first aid essentials that you absolutely want to have with you, especially in the wilderness where there is no one to take care of you, and we also don't want to put any more strain on our hospital systems right now. So let's take care of ourselves. Yay! So we're gonna break this up into a couple categories because there's actually a lot of stuff that you kind of need. There are 4 oral medications that I consider absolutely 100% essential, and then 3 that I would consider you should definitely put them in your bag if you have like literally any room. You want to have this because it's super important if you're experiencing any muscle cramps or you're having a fever, but really for backpacking it's important for muscle cramps. If you injure yourself on the trail and you need to get out, you're going to want to dull that pain somehow, and ibuprofen is the only thing that's going to do that. There are things in the wild that we may be allergic to, like deathly allergic to. So it's very important to have that on you. Even if you don't know if you're allergic to like a certain type of bug or something, you could have an allergic reaction to something you've never experienced before. And if you don't have an EpiPen on you, the next best thing is antihistamine. They'll generally slow the reaction down. And also if you have allergies, it'll just make your life a lot more pleasant if you have something to deal with those. Similar to acetaminophen, ibuprofen, except that it's much better for headaches, and those are really annoying when you're backpacking. Hydration is absolutely essential, and if you're injured or otherwise incapacitated, the last thing you want is to add dehydration to it. So definitely have some little packs of hydration powders in your first aid kit, because if someone, you or a friend, is injured, you need to make sure they stay hydrated. The 3 pretty much essentials, but also like if you don't have these, you're not gonna die. Our medications are antiacids, cold medications, and like a sinus reliever, so like Mucinex or some similar. Antiacids are just good because you have stomachache, you know, you want to get rid of that. This is especially important if you're on multi-day trips and you get a cold. You're probably not going to want to turn around, but you're not gonna want to feel like crap. So cold medications, very good. You should be aware that cold medications usually contain ibuprofen. So if you're taking a cold medication and you want to take additional ibuprofen, you need to make sure that you're not going over the recommended daily allowance. Really important if you're going to be anywhere with insects, which is pretty much anywhere in the world. If you get stung, it's gonna suck and you're gonna want something to deal with that. It's also good for mosquito bites. Essential if you cut, scratch anything yourself, even if it's a light scratch and you're not even gonna put a band-aid on it, being able to use antibiotic ointment on it is really essential. if you are injured by something, you need to make sure you clean that wound. It is going to hurt like all heck, but it is absolutely essential to have this with you. This is very important if you are backpacking long term. If you get something icky on your feet or something and it's bothering you, you don't really want your feet to be uncomfortable while you're hiking for days on end. So this is something that's good to put in your bag, especially if you're in like hot, gross, sweaty environments. This is to take care of chapped lips and hands, because dry skin can lead to ripped open skin, and that is not good for you. So bring some Vaseline, keep your skin nice and hydrated. And yes, there's more than one type that you need. For regular bandages, you're gonna want multiple sizes of these. So obviously kind of like small, medium, large, just your regular Band-Aids. And you're also going to want 1 or 2 like extra large Band-Aids in case you have a larger cut that isn't necessarily warranting like a giant gauze pad, but you still need to have a larger bandage to cover it. So have at least 1 ridiculously giant Band-Aid in your first aid kit. Gauze pads are for pretty severe cuts, bleeding, whatever, and you only need 1 or 2 of these in your first aid kit. Burn pads. They sound a little excessive, they are extremely expensive, they take up a ton of space in your first aid kit because they are full of water and have a very large package, but they are so incredibly important if you get burned when you are out in the wilderness, or really any time that you are not next to a hospital. Burns need to be taken care of instantly. It is really the first few minutes after you get burned that matters the most. And so having these burn pads can literally make the difference between you recovering from that burn pretty quickly and having either severe or permanent damage. Blister Band-Aids, for obvious reasons. If you're backpacking, you're gonna be on your feet all day long, and blister Band-Aids are really nice if you have blisters and they're gonna hurt and you can't stop hiking. So blister Band-Aids are great, just, you know, so you don't suffer as much. Having some panty liners and tampons in your first aid kit is good for obvious reasons, but more importantly is that they can act as bandages. They are specifically designed to absorb blood, and they come in very compressed, small, not technically sterile, but very close to sterile packages. And so instead of having tons of extra like bandage material in your first aid kit, which can get bulky really quickly, having panty liners, pads, tampons in that first aid kit can be super, super helpful if you're in an emergency where you have to take care of a lot of blood. Yeah, it's a whole category. I promise we're almost finished, and I promise I will show you guys how this all fits into an actually pretty small first aid kit at the end. First aid tape, really obvious, super helpful when you're securing bandages of any sort. Also, if you have like just like a small cut or something and you kind of don't want to put a Band-Aid on it, you can literally just take some antibiotic ointment and shove it on and then put first aid tape over it, and the ointment will stop the first aid tape from sticking right on that cut. It's a very lazy Band-Aid and it works very well. Waterproof first aid tape is really good to have if you're in like a wet environment or it's a part of your body that's getting wet a lot, like your hands. So this is super essential in that it actually works better than first aid tape for securing things really well. It is harsher on your skin, so I wouldn't recommend it unless you're securing a bandage that really needs to stay in place and it's like very intense. But the most important thing you can use non-elastic sports tape for is to protect yourself from blisters. Because it is always better to protect yourself from blisters before you get them than to have to deal with them after. However, this tape is also good to put over blister band-aids once you have a blister to prevent that blister from getting any worse. Because again, you're not going to stop hiking and moving around. I have seen a couple's recommendations of using duct tape to prevent blisters. And yes, duct tape will technically prevent blisters, but also ripping it off your skin at the end of the day is going to be so extremely painful, and it doesn't fit as well under your shoes, and it's plasticky, so just invest in some good sports tape. And this is super important for injuries. So instead of bringing on a ton of ACE bandages or splints for specific parts of your body or stress injuries, you can just bring this elastic first aid tape and use it as you would use an ACE bandage or similar, and it really does work. This first aid tape I have used especially on my knees because I tend to get minor stress injuries on them while I'm backpacking. You can use it on wrists, shoulders, whatever. It is extremely effective, extremely lightweight. Elastic sports tape is super, super helpful to have around, especially if you're injury prone. Honestly, everyone's injury prone when you're backpacking, so just have it with you so that if and when you do injure your knee, ankle, or other joint, you can keep backpacking without like insane amounts of pain and going through all your ibuprofen in the first 6 hours. These are just a couple extra things that you're really gonna wanna have around. You're gonna want gloves because if there ever is something that's like real messy and bloody, you don't wanna touch it. Gloves are helpful. To cut bandages and other things, especially the tapes, some of them do not rip well. You need to have something sharp. So if you don't want to use scissors, you can bring nail clippers or a knife or something, just have a cutting object. Tweezers, super important. If you get splinters or stung with something, you want that out of your body. Definitely. This is super important if you are backpacking because all of these items need to be waterproofed because it can rain when you are backpacking, or you might end up in a river or some other situation. And if all of your first aid kit is soaking wet, most of it will be useless at that point. So putting it all in a waterproof container is absolutely essential, or everything you have just put money and effort into can be rendered useless in a matter of minutes. That concludes my list of backpacking first aid essentials. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys want to hear more about backpacking first aid, treating specific injuries, I have plenty of knowledge in that, so comment below if you guys want to hear more about that, and stay on this channel for more backpacking, travel, and photography tips. And if you like it and you want to see more, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell button so you don't miss any new videos. And you can check me out on Instagram here, and check out my website below. Bye!